discussion
about
how free trade is
bad for the environment.
let's check it out.
My name is Raju Rafifah Ashila and the back of my name is 03. The summary from that article is the author argued that free trade is not inherently bad for the environment, while trade can sometimes lead to environmental harm, such as pollution from shrimp farming driven by export demand. It can also bring environmental benefits. For example, agricultural trade liberalization could replace pesticide-heavy European farming with more sustainable practice in developing countries. The author also points out that trade protectionism can harm the environment, as seen when U.S. import quotas reduce access to cleaner cars, or when closed economies in Eastern Europe had poor environmental records. The main argument is that environmental problems caused by trade should be addressed with targeted environmental policies, like pollution taxes, not by restricting trade itself. Trade policies should focus on economic goals, while environmental policies should address environmental goals. Using trade restriction to solve environmental issues is ineffective, just as using subsidies to promote trade for environmental reasons is misguided.
Hello everyone, my name is Haruna Saurani. So the first thing I will explain is argument about the article. My argument is negative external impacts are not usually controlled by taxes or regulation alone. Why is that? So I have supporting argument is the article assumes that pollution taxes or local regulation are sufficient to address environmental impacts. However, in reality, many developing countries lack the institutional capacity to enforce regulations or collect taxes effectively. Now, here are some reasons why pollution taxes may fail and how they can be overcome. First is improper implementation. Second is resistance from industry. Third is late implementation. So I have one example about the countries is late implementation of a pollution or carbon tax. So this is already occurred in Indonesia, where the government is unpreparedness in implementing a carbon tax has become apparent. This is reflected in several technical implementation rules that have not been finalized. These include the rate and basis imposition, calculation method, collection, payment or deposit, reporting, and carbon tax roadmap. And I have one solution about that. Pollution tax has great potential to be an effective in reducing pollution, but its implementation must be done carefully and consider the factors that may lead the failure. With proper design, effective coordination, and increased public awareness, public pollution taxes can contribute to the achievement and environmental and sustainable development goals.
Hello, my name is Excel. So for the another point is trade barriers can be an environmental protection tool. The article rejects the use of trade barriers for environmental purposes, even though many countries and international treaties recognize that trade barriers can be justified to prevent the import of goods, products in environmentally damaging way. Without these instruments, countries with high standards find it difficult to protect the domestic environment from bad practice abroad. Like the example is the EU implemented the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, which charged imports based on carbon emissions. The US banned illegal timber imports to combat deforestation. And the WTO allows environmental exceptions in Article XX of the GATT, provided they are non-discriminatory. And for the solution is implementing environmental fair trade barriers include science, base environmental standards, technological and financial support for developing countries, dispute settlement through the WTO, and an adaptive transition period. This approach ensures effectiveness without being protectionist in disguise. So that's all from me.
So today I'm going to explain my supporting arguments about free trade. Free trade allows countries access to green technologies and practices from other more developed countries. This encourages the exchange of innovation and knowledge, allowing developing countries to adopt sustainable solutions without harming the environment. Globally, free trade helps improve environmental standards through the spread of clean technologies and sustainable business practices. Benefit: there are two benefits from this. First, fast access to green technology. Developing countries can acquire green technology without having to develop them from scratch. The second one is reduce emission and environmental damage. With green technologies and practices, a country can reduce pollution and negative impacts on the ecosystem. The example is China, as the world's largest producer of solar panels, export to many developing countries. Countries like India, Kenya, and Nigeria gain access to cheap renewable energy, reducing dependence on coal and diesel. The solution is integrate environmental standards in free trade agreements such as low emission or energy efficiency requirements to encourage companies to compete with sustainable business practices globally.
When Scandinavia visit you, depicts Viking raids in the Middle Ages, including the burning of the city, robbery, and curse. It depicts the brutal history of Scandinavia as an invading nation called the Vikings.
To summarize, we have presented 4 main points against the article's claim that free trade benefits the environment. We argued that pollution taxes were often ineffective in developing countries and that trade barriers could be necessary to prevent environmental harm. We also highlighted the role of international standards in promoting accountability and noted that while free trade can spread green technology, it must be guided by strong environmental rules.